Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to the Everything with Millennials podcast. I'm Anthony, and with me always, we've got Mick Martin. How's it going, Mick?
Welcome, everybody, to the Everything with Millennials podcast, sponsored by no one. If you'd like to sponsor us, please bury a great big pile of money under a tree somewhere, and hopefully, eventually, we'll find it.
Yep. So this is, episode 4. We making moves, right? Episode 4. So a little bit of housekeeping. So we are now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you've been listening on Podbean or even watching on YouTube, those are the two new kind of places that you can find us. Subscribe.
Nobody's watching, Anthony.
Hey, I'm watching. My mom's watching. Hey, you know what?
Your mom watch this.
You know what? I'm having fun, man. It's just good to talk to you every week, you know?
Yes, I'm in this. I'm in this for you and the Halo.
Yeah. I'm in this for the fun and you. So I guess we're in it for the same reasons.
All right.
Yeah, always having fun. Always talking about different things every week. I think this week we're going to talk about some Armageddon type stories.
Yeah, well, based on the last episode of the Loki show, right?
Yeah,
because
so,
Loki has been weeding in this theme of Armageddon and how Armageddon it feels like an ending, but happens to be a persistent theme through history.
Yeah. You know what? You know what's a persistent theme of the show? Loki. I think we've talked about Loki on every single episode.
Yeah,
this is just the Loki podcast now.
Well, I mean, whatever Marvel show is currently like running and popular, I guess will find its way onto the show just based on our own
that's just us
love of that stuff.
Comic book and superhero nerds. So that's what we're going to talk about. But I just want to touch on one thing from last week. You remember my fever dream about Mario in the real world?
Yes.
Okay. I did some digging just to prove that I'm not crazy. Okay. So wait.
No, I believed you. I never did. I say you was crazy. Well,
no. So
you are crazy though.
Check this out here. So this is a trailer. So it was actually Mario Odyssey. So I'm going to play it here. So this is what I was talking about. The thing that I saw. It was
they build this city somewhere in Japan.
No, this is from the game.
I know, but I'm just saying. Okay.
So they call this for a New Donk City. It's basically New York City.
Oh.
And it's Mario running around.
I've heard of New Donk City. They have it in.
So this is from the trailer.
Oh, so it's like an open world.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a level where you can fight in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is awesome, eh? This is like him running around.
It's him with his
and it's an actual
Mario
level. Not only is this
powers.
the trailer for it, it's an actual level in the game.
Does he have a cape? Oh, really? And does he have? Wow, that's cool. I'll probably get that. I have a Switch. So.
Yeah. Oh, you have a Switch?
Yeah, I got a Switch, man.
Oh, awesome,
I never told you because I only want to play Halo with you.
Oh yeah,
but,
See, now I'm like I need to catch up on my Mario games and get a Switch.
Oh yeah, me too. Like this is cool looking.
Yeah. See, these are the levels, but the main thing that I saw was the New York City thing.
Dungeons. Yeah, I want that. I would like a Grand Theft Auto style Mario game where Mario can do his thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not talking about Mario doing his like setting people on fire and stuff like that. I just mean like jumping around and all that kind of thing. Like I want to see him. Well, maybe setting people on fire too. I guess.
Yeah.
That's what
so yeah. Basically, I didn't have a fever dream. That was an actual real thing. But now I need to go play that Mario Odyssey game.
Right.
So we're talking about Armageddons today. I guess we're gonna start it off like we always started off. I guess talking about Loki. So episode 3 of Loki. That was pretty much kind of like an Armageddon episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Armageddon's been a theme throughout the show, right? Yeah. They've like all these different Armageddons sort of woven through the story, and Loki trying to bring about maybe one big Armageddon or like making Armageddons less relevant. I don't know. Like it's right because if you've got a multiverse, Armageddons aren't really that.
Well, the Armageddon, I guess, is the TVA because they're coming in and pretty much obliterating humanity and the entire
and whole timelines and universes. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it's interesting the way that this kind of stuff bleeds from the real world into these, pieces of art, right? Because we have like one of those news articles I sent you was about a new $108 billion nuclear bomb or series of nuclear bombs that the United States is building,
Yeah,
and it's
and that
like,
could be an Armageddon for us. But on the show, yeah, there's many other Armageddons. Like you have the Armageddon, like all the apocalypses that
yeah, they
Sylvie
go to
has been hiding
Pompeii,
in.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pompeii. It was a really good one. And then
I've
in
been
the
to
newest
Pompeii.
episode, oh, you've been there? How is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Still
it's
dusty?
cool. It's cool. Yeah, it's dusty. Yeah, you can see
Is it really?
how. Yeah, well, not that dusty, I guess, but
That was a long
um,
time ago. 79 AD. Still dusty.
yeah,
It's like they
yeah,
got a bad
yeah.
cleanup crew.
No, man, because you can see the people where they're frozen in place where they were killed, right? Like
Yeah.
you can
Oh
see their
wow, that's
bodies and
crazy.
stuff. So you can see what it was like in an average Roman town, and they took us through like what a Roman day was, like what they did on a daily basis, where they took their craps and everything. It was
Yeah.
great.
I've been
Uh,
to the Philippines and I've been to where a volcano erupted. Not less of a Pompeii, but like a volcano did erupt and it went over a town. So it's funny you can see the tops of buildings. So it's like the ground and just the
right.
tops of buildings because the volcano came and like covered everything. So that was kind of cool to
Volcanoes,
see.
yeah, they just don't give a shit, right? And that's what the god Vulcan from Greek myths, right? I think I don't know why they made him more logical on Star Trek, except maybe Vulcan just like Vulcan don't care. You know, he's like the honey badger of the Greek gods because he
Vulcan, was
was
that a guy or was that like a race? Sorry,
no, oh no, sorry. In
pardon my
Star Trek,
Star
the
Trekness.
Vulcans, the Vulcans were Spock. Remember Spock?
Okay, he's a Vulcan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's a Vulcan. Yeah, but and Vulcan from Greek myths is a god and god of the mountain, god of the volcano, right? So
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, so they left us on a
stuff.
kind of a crazy cliffhanger. I guess they always do in Loki, where like they're pretty much screwed, right? Because like first they wanted to charge the tem pad, they didn't do it, and then they broke the tem pad, they got screwed again, and then their next plan was to oh yeah, so spoilers if you haven't already
Oh yeah.
we're talking about spoilers. So then their next plan after breaking the tem pad was to get on the ship and actually make it off the planet, and that kind of got exploded. So
Yeah, yeah. All they're sort of foiling themselves through their
So
own
how do you think
stupid
they get
bickering.
out of that kind of situation?
Well, I
The
think the
Avengers gonna come and
first.
save them?
No, I think probably Owen Wilson will show up and
No,
um,
it's funny. I saw a trailer for like upcoming episodes, but they don't really give you a lot. But they show you bits and pieces. So I think the next episode, because I saw in the next episode, they're still on uh, the name of the planet, which goes by me right now. But the planet they were on,
Purple
and then
World.
yeah, purple. We'll call it Purple World.
Mm.
There was like a one of the doors opened from like the TVA, and then Loki's standing there, and that's what they kind of show. But you still don't know how. Maybe they recharged the temp pad. Maybe you know what? There's lots of theories on that because like maybe Loki actually didn't give her the broken temp pad, and he actually has it all along. Like because
Yeah,
he
yeah. Maybe this is all in Loki's head, and she's the enchantress, and she's just trying to
yeah.
enchant him, and
That's another
because it does look like sort of an idyllic dream world pieced together out of Loki's memories, and she being Loki, like okay, enchantress will sort of. I think that her gimmick is to make herself kind of whatever the most beautiful thing to you would be. You
and
know what
for
I mean?
him, yeah, and for
It's
Loki,
himself.
it's just chaos and
No, it's himself. Loki's falling madly in love with himself, right? Loki is an
but
absolute ridiculous
would you
narcissist,
would you fall
and
in
he's
love with someone that's you from a parallel universe that's literally you but just born a woman?
well, I like, or not even born a woman in Loki's case. In Loki's case, it's like you can transform into whatever you want, and like, no, I probably wouldn't because there's a lot of things about myself that I don't like, and I would like a person, that I'm with to maybe help me round those edges out. But I think with Loki, Loki's very firmly in love with himself, and to
Because he's
see
such a
because
narcissist.
he's such an insane narcissist, and to see himself manifest in a sort of attractive female form is just got to be the most tantalizing thing ever to him. Like he's
Yeah, like
throwing cups on the ground, partying like he was a kid again. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he's looking at her, singing her songs and stuff like that. She's wooing him, dog.
yeah. Yeah, and she's just different enough. Like she's still a Loki, but she's different because she was raised differently, so she has a slightly different view on everything than Loki does, but still a Loki. Because
Yeah,
you
she was raised differently, but I don't know how she was raised. She doesn't seem to
well
remember
she,
how she was
well
raised.
well
She hasn't
she
really.
didn't have a Frigga, right? Uh, she died when she was young, so Odin raised her
Frigga.
primarily. Like Frigga, like Thor and Loki's mom, that's Frigga.
Yeah,
Um,
Frigga.
so Frigga was a
She was
very
a
gentle and
Frigga.
nice person, and you can tell when Loki talks about her that Loki's Loki and like kind of a decent person because of his mom.
Yeah, and then the ancient myths, Loki sort of helps Asgard sometimes and doesn't help them other times, right?
Yeah,
Like he does bad things and then gets
yeah.
back in
He's
people's
he's
good
he's more of
graces.
an anti-hero than a villain, right? He's like
Right.
one of he's kind of like Deadpool.
Depending on, yeah, well, depending on the version you get into, right?
Yeah,
Eventually he does, I think, kill
yeah,
Odin, but
yeah. Well, he tried
anyway.
to like in the other Thor movie like replace him and everything and hit him on Earth as a crazy man. Yeah, and then also
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Sylvie,
Well, Odin was getting old.
she said that she was been running from the TVA her whole life, so her upbringing is slightly different than Loki's. Loki got a whole childhood.
Yeah, but she's able to do something that Loki needed the time scepter, or not the time scepter,
The Time Stone.
the no, the Mind Stone, I think, to the Mind Stone of, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
the
yeah,
thing that he touched
yeah,
on
on
Tony's
Iron
chest
Man's
there.
heart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
he
she
needed
learned.
that to do that kind of thing. So she learned how to do that somehow
Yeah, she
just
learned because that's
from her
magic
own.
too, right? Like
Yeah,
Loki and Sylvie got taught magic, but different kinds of magic. She's more of an enchantress kind of magic, and he's
yeah.
like illusions and stuff like
So
that.
so that's why I'm suspecting she is the Enchantress, just because.
No, but in Thor, Hela was like amalgam of like her and Enchantress, right? Like Hela.
Hela was a bit of a mix of, yeah,
Yeah,
of a
they
few
that's what
different
Marvel
things. She
does. They
wasn't
kind of mix and
strictly the.
match.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you like, in order to convert something, like I don't think you can convert um mediums strictly one to one. You can't make a song into a movie, into a whole movie. You can't make a book into a whole movie. You can't make a movie into a book and it perfectly, you know what I mean? Like a book will
Yeah,
need to add
yeah. You
more
can't
lines of
make.
dialogue and different things in order
Yeah,
to make it.
it's a different medium, right? So you can't
Yeah,
make it exactly one for one. Like you can't make a book into a movie because it would be too damn long.
yeah, nothing translates, right? Like it's
Yeah,
like
it's
putting
just like
putting
it.
Wolverine in those yellow spandex would
Exactly.
not work.
That's
And
one
yeah,
conversation that we had before the other week about
yeah,
translating comic book costumes to uh, like real life or in the movies.
yeah, yeah. Like you can't you can't really expect them to be perfectly like in line. Uh, so I like this. I like the way
Yeah,
they're
and it
sort of
makes it good
taking.
because I think I've brought this point up before, but you can't know exactly what's going to happen because they change it. Like if you know the mythology or you know the comic books, like even if you know the comic books, you're still
Yeah, yeah.
surprised
You
because they
still want to
change
be
stuff.
surprised. Yeah,
Yeah, because
exactly.
you
Yeah,
don't want to know everything that's going to happen. It's like I read the comic books, I don't need to. But I guess comic book nerds, we would still watch it anyway if we knew exactly what was going to happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, people online have been complaining about power levels. This is a ongoing
Yeah,
conversation online and
I've got okay. So I've
I
got a
presume
good
elsewhere where people gather and talk
yeah
comics. I don't know.
yeah. So I've got a good kind of comment on this, and this actually comes from Stan Lee himself. So you know how people say like the power levels are too high, too low, or like could
Power creep.
the biggest thing is like can this guy take out this guy? Can this guy who would win in this fight? So Stanley said himself that's kind of a question he gets all the time. So if it was like Spider-Man versus Hulk, they'd ask him who would win in a fight, and Stanley would say the person that would win in that fight is the person that uh, like whoever wins, that's whoever helps the story the most. So whatever the story calls for, that's who will win.
Yeah, of course. Writers always decide.
So
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's true. But like, okay, in order to maintain the continuity or maybe the integrity of a story, you have to kind of have people's capabilities and limitations more clearly defined. Because if a person can suddenly just get themselves out of a problem, that looks like something like that makes people that pops a little question in your head that makes you ask, well, why didn't he just do that before? I think that like doing that adds a little knot. It makes the story less smooth. It kind of fucks with it. Pardon my French, but you know what I mean. Like it's a bump in the road. You don't need that. And in this episode, it is true that Loki, like a gigantic building, goes to fall on Loki, and Loki's like, "Pop, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. I'm Loki." Right? But in that like grocery store, there was like a fat dude, and he's like grabs Loki from behind.
Yeah,
And
and
Loki's like,
he gets
"Ah,
like,
get
yeah, he gets
up!"
like T-boned. No,
Right?
but
Yeah.
can I say something
But
about
I mean, it's
the
magic, and I don't really care,
yeah,
to
so
be honest.
so
But
this is kind of what people are saying online. So you know that scene where you're talking about where the thing falls and he's like, I got this, and he goes, boom, and he like uses magic to put it back up. Did you notice that there, when Loki uses his magic, there's like usually a green aura, kind of everyone's powers are color coded. In that scene, there was no green at all. So like it's like he's not using magic. But so I've read online. There's a theory that Loki used he took one of the time stones from the TVA when he was looking at the stones. Right, he probably just put a few in his pocket. So he used the time stone to rewind it. So if you actually look at that scene, it looks like it's actually going in reverse. So
yeah,
that's one.
he did seem to have access to those little stones,
Yeah,
and
because of
the
course
idea that they used them as paperweights,
yeah,
you,
because of
you know,
course they
it's
don't work in the TVA, but Loki's plan all along was to escape. So if he had a whole bunch of Infinity Stones in his pocket, then of course he's gonna escape. And then once you're outside the TVA, they would work again.
now it goes to show how like I think the point of that is to show how sort of the banal way that bureaucracy treats power, right? Like we've got some infinity stones in a little, whatever cupboard or in a desk drawer or something like that. It's like, yeah, no big deal, whatever. Just the same way president has like keys to nuclear bombs or like people working at silos, you know what I mean? Just have this like access to through these what vast bureaucratic mechanisms have access to this like godlike power that they kind of
Yeah,
I don't know treat however they sort of choose to, right? It's like
yeah, and that kind of leads into our like the first story that brought to me. But I just want before we get off the Loki thing and move on to the nuclear stuff, I want to just kind of go through a list here. I have like of some crazy theories, and you can tell me what you think about them.
okay. Oh,
So
in terms of Loki stuff.
yeah, in terms of Loki stuff,
Oh, okay,
yeah, I
cool.
know
Yeah, let me
we
get.
could probably make whole episodes about Loki, but I let's keep this
I
one
would
short, and
do
then we can go
that.
to
Hell, man, we
we'll
don't
go
have
to the
time
rest
for
of the
episodes.
Armageddon
Oh,
stuff. Okay,
okay.
so I told you
All
about
right.
the theory about Loki having Infinity Stones. So that's one of them, and that to me seems super plausible. There could be other things going on there as well. Like you said, he could be enchanted and all that, and it's all in his mind. Um, but
Yeah, yeah. I
so
hate that option, but it's very
so there's
possible.
another theory that the TVA is only taking out different Lokis. So they've taken out because Morbius even said they took out some other Lokis in the past, and also they've been hunting Sylvie, and they got our Loki. Um, and why would they only be taking out Lokis? Because there's another theory that I've read online that the Keepers are just another variant of Loki. So Loki he's scouring the multiverse, taking out all the other Lokis.
Because yeah, that's. Have you ever seen the movie How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying?
No, I haven't seen that.
Well, so that's essentially the plot of that movie, right?
Yeah,
Where like he's reading this book, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and he moves up the corporate ladder by screwing people here and screwing people there, and eventually he encounters another guy who's reading the book, who
yeah.
pre-screws him before he can screw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it could be like Loki is getting rid of Lokis that would turn into him eventually. So
That
if
would
there's
eventually
Lokis
get to
that
him. Yeah.
if there's Lokis that would never find him or never turn into him or come up with the idea that he initially came up with, then he leaves them alone, and that's the sacred timeline. So
Right.
that's one theory, and I have something else that does contradict that. But it's funny that he's going throughout the multiverse, killing off different Lokis. Kind of remind me of that Jet Li movie, The One. Have you seen that?
Um. Yes, I have. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so he
love that
goes.
movie.
Yeah, that
Al
that
Gore's
movie's
president at that point
that
in that
movie's
movie.
hilarious, especially the one where
Yeah.
you find the Jamaican Loki, or not Jamaican Loki, Jamaican Jet Li, and he's like a Jet Li with dreadlocks. Yeah, so basically the premise of that one is he goes around the multiverse killing off all the other Jet Lis because the less Jet Lis there are in the multiverse, the more power is
The
distributed between the remaining Jet Lis. So
remaining
that's
Jets.
seems
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it could be a similar plot to this Loki show.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. The fewer
Yeah,
Lokis there are, the better it is for the head
for the
Loki
head Loki, yeah, right. So the
or
sacred
Loki
timeline
Loki.
is just Loki's vision because
King Loki
he
Loki.
says a lot of his sayings all the time. He says, "You lack vision." He always says that. And glorious purpose. There's always these lines that you've heard from the Avengers movie. He says over and over in different
Yeah,
contexts.
people love catchphrases.
Yeah, but
The people
it
love
does
the
those
catchphrases,
catchphrases
Anthony.
add to that theory that there being one Loki as the variant that is the TVA, like the timekeepers.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I personally hope it's not that. I hope that the
Yeah.
timekeepers
Oh,
are
well,
like
I got another one, and you can tell me which theory of what's happening you like better. So the next one is, Judge Renslayer,
who?
the girl who at the end of the episode she was about to hit Sylvie and Loki, and then they fell through right before the
Yeah,
golden doors. Oh, so that's and she was the girl that was basically Morbius's boss. Remember?
right. Okay.
So here's the theory, and I kind of looked into this. Judge Renslayer, I forgot her first name, but Renslayer is her last name. In the comics, guess who she's married to? Kang the
Uh,
Conqueror. So the
oh,
theory now is for this that the
that's good then.
timekeepers are
Our Kang.
Kang,
That's what I
and
wanted.
and
That's what I
since there's
wanted.
three of them, they're variants of Kang. So there's Kang and two variants, and they're the timekeepers.
I
How do you
like
like
that.
that one?
I
So
like
those
that a
are
lot. I
two
hope
really
that
good.
that's what it is.
I think
But
both of
I
those are
mean,
really good.
am I just a comic book nerd who like wants things that I know to be in the show? I
I
don't
would,
know.
you know what? I would be happy with either of those endings. But you know what's funny? Just
I'd
like
be super goddamn happy, I tell you.
just like with WandaVision, uh, people theorize like crazy. They were like Mephisto, and like Doctor Strange. All these kind of crazy things that seemed like they made sense, but in the end, it was just a much simpler
Yeah,
story.
and I'm fine with that too. I like the gross, wild speculation.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that
it's
that's a lot
fun.
of
It's
fun.
fun, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
now
I think it's
we
interesting.
have all
Yeah,
these
whatever.
running theories, and every week we get proved right or wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a real parallel to it in like the sports world where people are constantly talking about trades. Like they're like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna get traded for this guy. This guy's gonna get traded for that guy. It's all rumors and nonsense. It's never like very rarely ever comes to pass to be the thing that you are hoping for or want or whatever.
Yeah.
But it does sort of occupy a good bit of mental space, um, like in kind of a tantalizing way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I have just one last prediction. That's something that you will happen. If it doesn't happen in the end of the show, everyone will riot. So basically, it'll be Owen Wilson on a jet ski saying, "Wow." It has to happen.
Oh, I mean, I really do hope that
It's gonna
happens
be like
because the people love the
it's gonna
catchphrases,
be Owen
Anthony.
Wilson gets to go back to his life. Like Loki or Sylvie is gonna save them all, and all those variants get to live their own like free will in their universe. So he gets to go back on his jet ski and sail off into the sunset.
It's you know what though, honest to God, it's a good move by Kang. You got to admire the moxie on that
Yeah.
motherfucker. Like I'm
So you
gonna
think
set up
it's
a little
and that will set up.
bureaucracy to take control of the first moment and the last moments in time and make sure no other time travelers mess with them
Yeah,
and clip any timelines that go in any direction that do not lead to me or my two other friendly me's leading the universe. I like
yeah.
fair
And
enough, Kang,
so you think it's the
if it's
Kang?
Kang.
You think it
Well,
is,
I mean,
or
I
that's what
hope
you
it
hope?
is.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice because that also leads into the Young Avengers, which they're rumored to do. And in the Young Avengers, the big villain is Kang.
Kang?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
so it
yeah,
could lead into
Kang.
that. It
I
could set up
mean,
everything, and I think it will set up the multiverse of madness for sure. right? Because I think at the end you're going to have all these multiverses, and free will pretty much will be reinstated. That's what I think. And then basically Doctor Strange got to
But you
come in
can't.
and fix
It's
it.
not. It's not. Still, even if there's a multiverse, it's not exactly free will. Like the idea of free will. Um, I don't think we have the right words for it because freedom from coercion or like influence by outside forces, there is no such freedom. Like we are all influenced by our surroundings, by our upbringings, by events that are out of our control. So
Yeah,
to
but that's
determine in that chaos
influence.
what
But like,
is
if you can, some people can be less or more influenced by certain things, you know. But in the end of the day,
about why.
you're still choosing whether you're influenced or not, or how much you're influenced. You know,
Are you though? Like
like TV commercials are like an influence. The more you see them, the more you're more likely to do it. But you still have uh, the choice to do buy or not buy whatever you want.
no, not necessarily. Well, okay, you have the choice to buy or not buy whatever you want. I mean, yeah, but the degree to which you're influenced by a particular advertisement, I think, has a lot to do with like, oh, I happened to read a book last week about Toyota and they're bad or something like that. So, not really by your own choice necessarily. You know what I mean, like maybe somebody just left it on the table, and by happen chance you picked it
Yeah,
up, read this thing, you know what I mean, like, and,
yeah, it's
and
all
out
the
of all
little
these
things.
million different yeah, exactly. So with all these possibilities compiled on one another to determine what was your free of coercion choice versus what was your um sort of happenstantial like falling into, I think is difficult. And yeah, I don't think we have the right words for it, or at least I don't. Maybe
But
that's just because
in
I
terms
don't.
of the show, it's like every time one of those things does or does not happen, it becomes a new multiverse, right? Like every decision
Yeah,
splits.
yeah, and I think that's cool. That's a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
think that
And
that's
in the show, they're trying to clip so there's not so many branches. But in a true multiverse, every decision you make, a new multiverse becomes. So then when you have so many, I guess in the Marvel universe, they'll clash, and that's the multiverse of madness, and that's kind of leading to, I guess, Secret Wars as well, because that was kind of the plot of
we'll
that.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
and
see. It's
that's
there's
the
so
plot of
much.
Secret Wars
There's
2.
always so much that you can do in the Marvel universe, and it seems like they're laying the seeds because they'll lay the seeds, like 10 years in advance, 20 years in
See,
advance.
Secret Wars 1 was just the Beyonder wanted to have a fight between good and evil. And Secret Wars 2 was Doctor Doom took over the whole universe,
Yeah,
remade it in his image, married Sue Storm, turned the thing into like a big wall around his palace, like all this crazy stuff, and then everybody had to fight him. Um, anyway,
yeah, but in any case, it's like they always lead to an event that would be like kind of the theme of the show, like an Armageddon that could just wipe out everybody at
yeah,
any
that's right.
time.
Okay, yeah. So, well, let's get into these
And
articles
yeah, and
then,
if you
because
want,
we were
yeah, so
talking about
let's talk about
Armageddon's.
So we'll move from the Armageddons in the Marvel universe to Armageddons in like real life. These are the stories that you've kind of brought to me this week for the theme of Armageddon. So do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I like the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. I think it's a good.
Yeah. So the name of the article is "Why is America Getting a New $100 billion nuclear weapon?"
Right. And it goes through it and it explains exactly why. And there's a complex answer to that. It's not so simple as, like you've got people like war loving hawks demanding that we have lots and lots of nukes because they're angry or because they're crazy or because they're dangerous. It's actually a lot more to do with the way that these structures, the way that people's lives and way of life has become intertwined with having a nuclear silo in their community that tradespeople need to do maintenance on, that local vendors need to provide services for, that you need plumbing to get to. Like you've got this sort of way of life connection to these nuclear silos, and then that in turn bleeds into the political process, which was in a lot of ways designed around allowing people to defend their own routines, however their community saw those routines, um, uh, 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 like however that community saw their sort of routine daily life, however they wanted it to be. That's sort of what America, I guess, was founded trying to defend, right? Trying to like allow people to come into come into communities and just be free of outside influence or you know persecution or whatever. So and just to be free to pursue whatever their heart desired as long as it didn't hurt anybody else, right? I think that's kind
Yeah.
of the
And
dream.
so you might have answered this somewhat. I just want to be clear for like everyone listening. It's like, what is the answer? So why are they getting the $100 million, $1 billion nuclear weapon? I
Right.
think you
Sorry,
kind of.
I got a little off track there.
I know. I think you kind of
Um,
answered it, and from what you were saying, I kind of got that it'll kind of create jobs or for some
well, it's
community.
it's it's part of the so okay. The old
I
just
think it's multi-layered, right? Like
it's multi-layered, exactly. So
yeah,
part of the original justification comes from the Cold War, the end of World War II, and in World War II, people were really hot-blooded. Like they were they were
yeah,
like my family, somebody from my family or somebody that I know is serving in the military, or if you're in Europe, it's like my house has been destroyed. Like build the biggest bombs you can and kill whoever you have to. Like
yeah,
that was the mentality of a lot of people in from for like a period of at least 1941 to 45, if not sooner. Um, so we sort of inherited a system based on the idea that that kind of mentality was the one that ultimately governed our political interactions. That getting down to it, what we're capable of is the worst thing. So we need to be prepared for that.
yeah.
And uh, preparation for that looks like having enough nuclear bombs to totally annihilate pretty much all life on the planet.
Yeah, and I think that kind of came from like I guess back in the day when you had your first war as caveman, everyone just had sticks, and then everyone had cannons, right? And so then as you progress technologically, we can make crazier and crazier weapons. So now we're at a point where
You bring scientists
we
in,
could
and you
destroy the
bring
whole planet, right? And that's
yeah.
where the Armageddon comes.
Well, the fear was that if the Nazis got the atomic bomb before the Americans did, that they would use it even worse and more indiscriminately in worse ways than the United States or than anybody else in the world. And that's probably true. They probably would have. Hard to say, but I bet you they would have.
Yeah,
So anyway, with that in mind, people then set about the task of defending themselves. And in order to defend themselves, they took inspiration from V2 rockets in that were built in Germany, like rocket propelled, um, sorry, ground propelled rockets that could bombs that could go from point A to point B without an airplane, right?
yeah,
These nuclear silos became a part of. We have to protect ourselves from anybody who's going to like annihilate us the way clearly seen with our own two eyes is possible. And so these nuclear bomb sites got built all over the United States and Russia, preparing for a conflict that never happened, right? They were expecting the USSR and the United States of America to fight, to have an actual war. A lot of people were. And it didn't happen. And now we've still got all the weapons of preparation for that war sitting around, and they've become a part of people's daily lives,
yeah,
like maintaining those weapons. So getting rid of them then involves, um, you know, a politician's livelihood. I mean, I'm probably being too long-winded about this, but uh,
no, that's
um,
good details here, and
yeah,
I think
uh,
it'll be hard to get a whole country to take them down because like multiple countries have them. If one takes them down, they're gonna get worried that another country might like just attack, right?
right.
Like, and they have no self defense, so it's
That's
kind of like
true.
have your arms up, just like in boxing, or you're gonna get punched,
But if right,
and that's the worry, right?
but if you explode only a few hundred of these at the same time, we're looking at a global nuclear winter, right? Like there's the destructive potential of these weapons is so high that building more is all that you're doing is adding more possibilities of mistakes. So we've already got enough weapons to basically end our planet,
Oh yeah, for sure.
you know vaporize every city on Earth,
And
um,
yeah, it's gonna.
destroy every
And
freshwater
if it doesn't
supply on
end our
the planet.
planet, it's gonna end this very slowly, right? It's gonna like
Right, right.
radiation in different places, and you know what? That's gonna like kind of
So so
make our soil not be able to grow plants and stuff like that, and then eventually we die either way. And I think that leads us to the next kind of Armageddon-ish thing that you brought me to this week.
that's right. But all I'm saying is the more of these things we build, we are not upping the destructive potential. The destructive potential is maxed out at all life on Earth is destroyed.
Oh yeah,
All
for
we're
sure.
doing is upping the potential of a mistake being made that will lead to that because
Yeah.
we've maxed out on the potential catastrophe. We're up at the limit of it. Now we're just adding to the possibility of a
So
mistake
so we
being
went from
made.
instant death to even faster instant death, even more
Well,
instant.
accidental instant death.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
accidental. Yeah, so instant by someone
The
pushing it, or
the yeah,
instant by accident.
the less atomic weapons we have, the less potential there is for an accident with each individual weapon. The more we have, the more potential there is for an accident with each individual weapon. Do you see what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
And so whenever funding goes into building more or better nuclear bombs or even defending against, hackers, uh, really, I think the funding should be going into converting the nuclear facilities into nuclear power plants wherever possible to
Yep.
provide sustainable electricity. Like,
That's a great idea actually. So if we were
right,
to ever take them down and they did that, yeah, you should totally convert it into like nuclear power.
nuclear power
Do
for
something
people so that we can do something
constructive, right?
productive with it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. No, I
Um,
100% agree. Good ideas.
that's what we
It's like
have
you're
to
in
be doing.
politics or something.
I'm not anymore. But I'm just saying, like, you know, and a lot of people will say, well, in a perfect world, that's what we would do.
Yeah,
Okay, but if we don't start doing this, if we don't begin this process, we're never going to get to a place where, um, where we're safe. We're always going to be living under
yeah.
this threat. Like
Where we
our
don't accidentally
children,
die.
yeah, our children, are innocent, and they should not be living under threat of incineration. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, okay. So what's the next one?
Yeah, so like I was trying to segue into it, but yeah, so like if we don't instantly die, then we slowly die, and if it contaminates our soil, then
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
the
that leads
soil
us to
erosion
our next
problem.
soil. Yeah, so the next story that you've got here. So a global study reveals time running out for many soils, but conservation measures can help.
Right.
So
Um,
you want to talk about this one a little bit?
yeah, yeah. So this is interesting.
Basically, our soil is going to be not good enough.
Right, right. That's
And we're gonna
right.
run out
Yeah.
of food and die.
Well, that's so. What this article mentioned was just that 60% of soils with lifespans shorter than 100 years is a more optimistic harvest or estimate than 60 harvests left.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They said
So,
60. Yep.
but one way or the other, what they're saying is, you know, we've got about 100 years of topsoil right now on our current trajectory um, in order to make enough food to sustain, the current population levels of the planet, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But they said they do said if we take care of it and we do it uh, like sparingly, then we can make that longer. And also, if we convert some land into like just have like regular soil there and
right. Yeah.
conserve that, we can go much longer as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it said that the study shows soil erosion is a critical threat to global soil sustainability, and with urgent action, we can prevent further rapid loss of soils. So essentially, you have scientists and groups calling for political action and change in farming practices and the way we're using our soil, basically. Um, and what that's going to look like is, obviously going to go through a kind of a Byzantine political process that will impact people's livelihoods and people's sort of ways of life, et cetera, et cetera. But hopefully, we can move through that stuff and make the necessary changes we're going to need to make,
Yeah.
according to these scientists, to
And it's cool.
to
Like
sustain
you're
global
saying,
population
it's a
levels.
little bit of it's like a people problem, but then politics steps in to kind of arrange the stuff, and then you get technology to kind of fix the problem. So it's like that's like me and you. Your politics, I'm
Yeah,
technology, and then we just kind of come together to fix this problem for humanity, and that's pretty awesome.
yeah, if
We never,
possible, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the dream, but it's kind of cool because I come from a technology field and you come from the politics side of things. So I'm seeing by talking to you about these different stories, like how it would come together, and it's pretty. It's just really clicking for me, and I'm like, this is cool.
all right, cool. I'm really glad. Yeah, I'm
especially
really
especially the
glad.
next thing we're going to talk about too. That's for me that was a huge tech story, and I guess you bring it to me
Oh
through the
yeah,
political lens, and that's cool.
right, right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's get to that one.
Yeah, so this one
Uh,
is cool. This is something that I heard about like last year and well during the pandemic stuff. So this is from NASA, which is NASA, and this is I guess seeing the COVID-19 pandemic from space. So this is kind of all the changes you're seeing because of COVID-19, the pandemic, on all the lockdowns and stuff like that from space.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I just thought it was interesting to take a look at, because there's still a lot of arguments about climate change and, like, once again, we're talking about people's way of life, like people who work in oil or fossil fuel extraction, right? Natural resource extraction. They have certain routines that they are um, comfortable with, and that are provide them with a life full of meaning and emotional connection and love and all that different kind of thing. And here people are, you've got scientists coming along questioning and threatening it, but at the same time, you have to take a look at what those scientists are actually saying and what kind of pictures and images they're able to provide to back up their points. And this is a really interesting example of what our cities and communities might look like
Yeah.
if we were able to phase out fossil fuel.
Exactly, and that's kind of the tech angle of this. So
Right.
during the pandemic, especially in high population areas such as San Francisco, Los Angeles, a lot of people stopped driving, right? Because they're all locked in at home. So the air quality changed, and through you can see nitrogen dioxide levels over the San Francisco area in California. You can see like before and like after kind of lockdown, so you can kind of see the air quality change, and you can see
Yeah,
how
that's right.
bad
Yeah.
how bad it was there. And if we slide over, you can see that it becomes much cleaner, and it's insane
Right.
because the level of cars, fossil fuel cars driving around, uh, were much less, and that kind of
That's right.
shows
That's
you
right.
what it would look like if we were
And
driving
and we're talking
less.
about reducing emphysema. We're like
Yeah,
reducing different lung
yeah,
related problems and conditions that we're foisting on our young people unnecessarily, right?
exactly.
That children should not have to grow up with these different kinds of problems, related to the air around them, because we have the technology for them for those problems to not exist,
Yeah,
and
just the
our
health implications alone, like huge.
exactly right. So like forget, climate change is complicated, and climate science can be very there's a lot to it, but this is a very simple look at the difference. And
Yeah,
nobody likes living around smog, you
yeah,
know
and LA is one of the most like if you've ever been to LA, it's really sunny all the time, but also you kind of see this haze in the sky, and
that's right.
that's what it is. And
That
that haze in
industrial
the last
haze.
year has pretty much lifted and then become really nice and clear.
Yeah, yeah. So
So it kind of shows you if you carpooled more or drove less, or like even switching to like an electric
I
car.
no, I think the solution is more or less out of the hands of individuals in other than in so far as individuals can influence the political process, because the cars that get sold, the advertisements that persuade people to buy them, the way that the society functions is a product of where public dollars through
Yeah.
taxes end up, whose pockets they end up in. And if they
Yeah.
end up in companies that are able to make a more persuasive argument to continue driving,
Hmm.
you know, fossil fuel using vehicles,
Yep.
as long as they have the money to make the argument and get the argument out there, they'll win. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's not relevant. So, you know, that's my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
like obviously individuals should do whatever they personally
yeah.
can,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. There's
sorry,
the
go
kind of
on.
person that's like old school, and they're like, I'm gonna drive a gas car to the day I die. You know, like there's just like that kind of person.
Yeah,
There will always be that kind of person because there is
exactly.
a
And we
thing
should have
for
room for those.
driving. Yeah, there's like you driving an electric car versus a gas car. There's a different feeling, and I get I drive an electric car. Uh,
Yeah.
Full
I
disclosure,
wish
I
I
drive.
drove an electric car.
I drive a Tesla, but I do get that thrill of driving like a muscle car or whatever. You know, they say that the rumble is the soul of the car, and it is fun. Like I drove
Yeah.
like I love driving a standard car. Like that's super fun driving those kinds of cars. Like driving Lambos, Mustangs. Any like even you have a nice Infinity gas car. That's pretty peppy.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It goes fast and I enjoy driving it fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of companies, and I don't know if you can comment on some of the political stuff. I see governments leaning towards more of a green initiative to clean the air and make kind of the push towards more greener vehicles. Do you
Well,
hear any of that? Because from the tech side, I'm seeing a lot of that. Like I know a lot of different countries, cities, towns. They're going more green, and they're trying to have a certain amount of electric vehicles per vehicles. And that number is they have like a date of like 2035, 2030 to have this many vehicles that are green. You
I
know,
don't see a lot of governments really leading those initiatives. I see that those initiatives being led by people, by
I
popular
guess I
groups
guess
and interest groups
yeah. Well,
that are able,
like
and the public who are able to push government in the direction
yeah.
of
Yeah, I
doing.
guess it's people and I guess groups and stuff that are kind of green. But I see like the city of Toronto, for example, they're
Governments have accepted that argument, I
yeah.
think, in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I think they're leaning that way, and I think if we continue on this path, we can kind of clean up the air a bit. Just having 10%, 20% less gas cars on creating
As long
like
as we do
pollution.
it, but it's going to take a major,
Yeah, no,
major
it's
effort
gonna take a long
and
time.
and a lot of different considerations. And I don't know that we necessarily have that. Like this goes back to that theme of Armageddon. What the climate science folks are predicting in terms of weather pattern changes, it's a lot more flooding, and just the flooding alone, when you combine that with how fragile a lot of human infrastructure is, right? Like another 4 feet of water changes the island of Manhattan a great
Oh yeah,
deal,
yeah, yeah,
and it another like another couple degrees of heat can change the way that people live and work in Texas or Phoenix or Arizona or all over the Middle East, anywhere along the equator. I mean, this stuff will change people's lives and will make them more, I think, as we said before, hot-blooded, like in World War II, more desperate, more self-interested, and more willing to be violent. Um, like that seems like it is a very real possibility, and preventing those conditions from arising by taking the steps we need to uh, you know get off fossil fuels basically is not something that I think most countries are doing quickly enough or taking seriously enough, um, compared to the urgings and the evidence that's been provided. But that's just
yeah.
my
Well, when it
sort
comes
of
down to it, it's all about
perception, maybe. I mean,
survival, and everybody wants to survive. So basically, no Armageddons. We don't want nuclear stuff to blow up in our face. We don't want our soil to not be habitable for plants, and we want the skies to be clearer so that we can breathe better and live longer and be healthier. It's like,
so that we can watch shows like Loki and
so
enjoy ourselves.
Loki, we tie it back over
You
to
know,
Loki.
so we can just chill and be at peace and enjoy. Like, you don't have to always be at peace. People can go have fights and stuff, but like I also want to be in a situation where we can make and enjoy art and
exactly. It's just to live life to the best, to the fullest.
Yeah.
And I always say on the show, I'm the eternal optimist. So I think we'll kind of get the nuclear stuff under control. I think we'll be smart, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about survival, and we just want to survive and be the best that we can, So I think we'll handle these things. And we'll use politics and technology in a nice together
fusion.
We'll fix it, and we'll have that nice future, so we can all just kick back and get on our jet skis and be like, wow.
The waves got so much bigger. Wow.
And with that, I think we've kind of reached the end of the show. You know what? These shows
I do believe we have.
They go pretty fast. Like, we just get to talking, and an hour goes by just like that. We might need to do longer shows at some point.
I may have spoken too much. I probably didn't get
No, man, it was all good info, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it.
Right on, dude. Okay, so
yeah, man. So everybody, thanks for listening. If you're wherever you're listening to this, follow us on like Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Podbean, YouTube. Just follow us everywhere. Hit 5 stars. Do all that. Share. Do all that. If this had a thing. If there's a like button, hit it. If there's a subscribe button, hit that.
Throw the money in the air. It will blow my way.
That's been the show for this week. I am Anthony at The Essential Element on Twitter, and we'll see you next week.
See you. Bye.
Bye.